Shakur Stevenson says his big bro Terence Crawford is psycho and he's going to outbox the out of Canelo Alvarez. I'll start with the quote and then I'll give you guys my thoughts. He says in a brand new interview with IFL, quote, Canelo outboxed the shit out of him. Right? Yeah, for sure. Terence is crazy. That dude is psycho. And he was responding to Crawford not having a rehydration clause, which I'll get to in a second. So he's saying that Canelo is going to get the ish outboxed out of him by Terence Crawford. Canelo is one of the biggest names in the sport of boxing. You can't ask for a rehydration clause against someone like that. Now, I keep showing my greatness. I know it makes the haters so mad, but notice the commentary I give. You start to hear the fighters say, the trainers say, the industry professionals say exactly what I told you. Now, Shakur just said Canelo's one of the biggest names in the sport. You can't ask for a rehydration clause. But then he kind of contradicts himself by saying and like trying to give Crawford cool points like, man, Crawford's so psycho. He's willing to fight Canelo with no rehydration clause. Does that really make you psycho when you have no choice in the matter? I've already went over this. Canelo is the dictator. He shall dictate the terms. Point blank, period. Hate it, love it, that's the way it goes. So for me, I'm not giving you points for having to play your position and you have no say-so in the matter and you have to do as you're told, and then you're trying to act like, oh man, I give you a lot of props for doing as you're told. It's not you. Why would I give you a lot of props? You can't enforce a rehydration. Bomac, he did the same thing. He's like, man, no rehydration clause. That's some ussy-ish. You don't have a say-so. So even if you wanted one, we would never know, because you know, like I know, that Canelo's not going to do no favors to you. So you've been calling out Canelo. Canelo, to his credit, said he don't even really want to fight Crawford like that because he won't get no credit for it because they'll say he's too small. So you're barking up the tree. You should fight him at his weight class with his terms as the A side. I don't give no, like, Shakur, that's his big bro, so he's trying to, be biased for the cause. I'm not giving you no props for calling out, like, you wanted this. The boxing world didn't even think this was possible, and then Crawford initially asked for the fight at a catchweight. Canelo said no, and then now I'm supposed to give props because there's no rehydration clause. We knew that. Listen, I keep showing my greatness. I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. You guys just got to deal with it. This is more proof of why I don't really care for this fight. I'm not with the radical weight class jumping. If Crawford really feels like a 68-pounder, why not move up and fight Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, guys that Canelo beat, guys that David Benavidez beat, right? You can't even beat their leftovers, or you refuse to show us that you can beat them at 168, no rehydration clause. That would be great, as opposed to coming off the Madrimov fight where you look vulnerable, where you didn't look unbeatable, where you didn't hurt or stop Madrimov to the point where, like, it looked like he was on his way out. And this is at 54. So you're going to move up 2 weight classes, and you hear Shakur, what he's saying, Terence is going to outbox the ish out of Canelo. I don't like fights like that because there should be nothing off the table. But if you make a ridiculous match, then things will be off the table. Now, I know some people don't know what I'm talking about. Let me explain. So, for example, if Crawford was fighting Jermell Charlo at 154, hypothetically, there's no outcome that's off the table. Draw would be something that could happen. Crawford by knockout could happen. Crawford by decision could happen. Same thing with Jermell. Jermell could knock out, theoretically, Terence Crawford, or he could decision Terence Crawford, right? So that's the reality of it. But then when you put somebody out of their element and you move them up too much weight class, like Crawford and Canelo, to me, it is not really reasonable to honestly suggest and put money on this comfortably that Crawford is going to knock out somebody who's shown a beard like Canelo Alvarez at 68 with no rehydration. So he could be 205 pounds the night of the fight. And again, I know some people, they want to play games with me like, oh yeah, he could knock him out, and it's possible. Yeah, anything in life is possible. It's possible you could go out to the grocery store and Margot Robbie's there, and then she's swooning over you and she wants to leave her husband and date you. But how likely is that to happen? You don't have a haircut, you don't have a job, you don't have any money, you're 5'5", you know what I mean? Like, yeah, technically you could go to a grocery store and all these things can fall into place for you, and somebody as successful and beautiful as Margot Robbie could be on your line. But probability is not on your side in that specific example. Just like Crawford, probability and whatnot is not on his side that he will stop Terence Crawford. His own homie, Shakur Stevenson, is saying Terence is going to outbox the ish out of Canelo. So you guys are acting like this is a mega fight, but there's already one outcome that is highly unlikely, which you could probably remove from the option. That shows you that this is not a fight that needs to happen, because nothing should be off the table. If you have, like, for example, David Benavidez, David Morrell, I don't know what's going to happen. There's nothing that is off the table. Like, Morrell might hurt Benavidez, and then Benavidez comes back and knocks him out. Same thing the other side. Benavidez could hurt Morrell, then he survives and then comes back to knock out Benavidez. It could be a decision. That is the mark of a great fight. You really, truly don't know how it's going to play out. Even Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, most people didn't predict a one-sided massacre in favor of Crawford, except for like radical Bud Buddies. But the average fan was like, even the people picking Crawford, they're like, oh, it's going to be formidable, but I have Crawford stopping him late. You know what I mean? Not like Errol getting dropped in the second round and loses every second from the moment on. That's great boxing in terms of you don't really know what's going to happen. But Shakur is proving my point by saying Terence is going to move up and outbox the ish. So that shows me right then and there, this is a fight that really doesn't need to happen for me, because Crawford's only path to victory is likely to try to move, be tricky, be stealthy, and try to outbox Canelo on point, as opposed to, you know, is he really going to stop Canelo? And I see this where people, I know you guys are letting emotions get in the way and dictate. As a man, I don't do that. Yes, I have emotions, but I'm also someone who practices stoicism. And you're seeing all these radical predictions, but come fight time, if they do fight, the sports book is not going to represent this knockout that y'all saying for Crawford, right? Could it happen? Yes, anything can happen, blah, blah, blah. But I know for a fact, if you go to Vegas, if this fight happens in September, all the people like Crawford by knockout in the third round, they're not going to bet like that. And Crawford will likely be an underdog. So again, this shows you the fakeness of boxing. People will say it online, but they don't really mean it and they don't really believe in it. So I don't really prefer fights like that where it's like, you know, it's kind of like Kell Brook, Triple G. I wasn't a fan of that. You know, I watched it. Kell Brook did as good as he could for as long as he could. Then he got his eye mashed on and smashed up, mashed potatoes, broken orbital, career never the same. You know what I mean? And Crawford got to do all this for a paycheck because he made decisions that he made, bad business, bud, and his career is what it is. So now you got to do this radical stuff and try to make a freak show fight to try to get paid what you think you should have been making before. And again, I'm not a fan of fights where anything's off the table. Like any other good fight you can name, like Schofield, Shakur might be able to stop Schofield if he gets tired. He got experience. Schofield got power and explosiveness. He might be able to stop Shakur, get a TKO. We never know. But again, tell me in your heart of all hearts that you truly believe Terence Crawford is going to stop Canelo Alvarez. And then I hear some of the dumbest arguments like, oh, Usyk beat a bigger Tyson Fury. That's a heavyweight, bro. You don't have no choice but to fight. Usyk's like 6'3" and a southpaw, and he's just talented and moving fast. It's a heavyweight. I'm not comparing no heavyweight. This is the fakeness of boxing. Some people say, oh, heavyweights don't belong on the pound for pound list because of the weight class. But then people bring up examples to try to support how a smaller Crawford can beat a bigger man by using Usyk Fury, right? What is that? What is Usyk? Usyk's his own fighter anyway. So despite the heavyweight angle, Crawford is not Usyk. Usyk is not Crawford. They do their own thing. They got their own chin. Like, does Crawford have the same chin as Usyk? Because Daniel Dubois, AJ, and Tyson Fury, none of them really officially dropped Usyk. But we seen Mean Machine drop Crawford, right? You could bring up Daniel Dubois. That was a good body shot, but the ref said it was accidental or whatever, low blow. So it is what it is. On record, he didn't get dropped, even though you could argue he did. But still, that's a 6'4" Daniel Dubois who outweighs Usyk and weighs 260 with crack. Crawford getting dropped by Mean Machine. You know what I mean? Getting rocked and spaghetti legged by Gamboa. And you think he gonna move up and like knock out Canelo? His own man's Shakur is not even saying that. I can't wait. We'll see. At the end of the day, I like what I like. Y'all can like what y'all like. It's just not the fight for me. I'm not into it like some of y'all.